Hello and welcome to A Real Point of View. I'm your host, Greg Morgan, and I'm here with my co-host. I have Mr. Stephen C., a guy who says that you say it, Steve. It's just more fun when you say it.
I do not pick bad movies.
And there
shut
you
up.
have it. And what did you say? And Karen says allegedly. And welcome in the movie maven herself, Miss Karen D., with her favorite retort.
Hello,
Allegedly.
hello,
Allegedly.
Eh.
hello.
And I'm the real movie guy, and we're here to talk about the best of 2017 so far. Now, I didn't want that to just only mean movies that came out in 2017. Maybe we saw a movie that we saw this year that we hadn't seen before, and we wanted to introduce that too. So both of those apply tonight on our show. So, it was funny. I was looking at different movies. I had seen different movies and didn't realize that I'd seen so many films this year. I mean, it's only May, and we're basically in the middle of the second quarter of the year, and I've already seen wow, more movies than I thought I had seen actually. And I wasn't overly, it's funny. I didn't really anticipate this year being that great in film, but there were some films I really wanted to see. And I've seen a few movies that, people are telling me they've seen it and they know that I kind of do this movie thing. So they're saying, hey, you should watch this. Hey, you should watch that. And some of those movies just weren't on my radar, and I was trying to avoid them. But I couldn't avoid the people because I saw them every day. So it made it a little more difficult when they say, hey, did you see that yet? Did you see that yet? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start trying to watch some of these movies. How about you guys? You guys have any reaction out there? People asking you, have you seen something?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll just jump in and say that for me, it's a bit of a dicey question because, as you know, because of my job demands, it's very difficult for me to see movies in the beginning of the year. So a lot of movies that were released at the beginning of this year, between January and the beginning of May, I just haven't been able to see because of my day job. That said, so I haven't seen nearly as many movies as I would like to see, I think. But that said, I think 2017 is probably going to end up being better as we get, we're starting to approach the time now where we're going to start to see some really anticipated good films, more so than the first 4 or 5 months of the year. And I think that's typical. We usually get the best that Hollywood has for the summer movie watching season, and then, it just kind of rolls along through the holiday season. But the first 6 months are usually slim pickings in terms of movie releases, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you weren't just saying that to talk about a cowboy western star back in the. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello. Yeah, left planet Earth. What planet are we on now?
Where's Quick Draw McGraw when you need him?
He's on hiatus. I'm not. He informed me through his attorney he did not want to be associated with the show anymore.
It's bad when a puppet has an attorney.
Well, there's copyright, digital rights management and all that stuff. And Quick Draw was like,
I was offended that I could get him on here to talk about these movies, but I guess not.
Yeah.
And I can't pay no lawyer fees. I already know that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, me neither.
What about you, Steve?
I feel like 2017 is going to start gearing up for the summer and everything. This is the year of sequels and remakes, and mostly sequels: Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Alien Covenant, Pirates of the Caribbean's next one, Baywatch being a remake, Transformers, The Mummy, Logan, Triple X.
Hey, John Wick.
But there's also some underlying movies that I feel like are going to really, really explode. I feel like Dunkirk is going to
Oh,
be
God.
very
Totally looking
over the
forward to
top
that.
and very good.
Totally
The
looking
Dark
forward to
Tower
that.
movie.
That
The
too.
the Dark Tower movie, I have high hopes for. I'm really curious about the King Arthur movie. I
Hmm.
haven't seen yet. I'm
Oh, that just
interested.
looks. Ugh.
What does that
I'm
mean?
interested. I'm not saying it's gonna be, you know, over the top or great, but I'm willing to give them at least a shot to,
Mhm.
you know, do something different, but still, you know, do a good job with the source material.
It looks bad.
You're not wrong, but I'm
Just-
willing to give it a chance.
I know, but you say you never pick a bad movie. Don't do it,
Well,
Steve.
he
Don't
has.
do
Well, see, here's the thing. He
See,
doesn't
there's a
know.
context. There's a context. Let me go, Greg. There's a context in never picking a bad movie. I don't pick bad movies for people to see. I have to in
Oh,
turn watch bad movies to make sure you don't see them.
that's true. You do. But you may be doing more
I have
than what is required by going to see King Arthur.
whoa. Nobody said I was seeing it in theaters.
Okay.
Nobody said anything about seeing it in
Oh,
theaters.
that's true. You did not say that, now, did you?
So
So
let's I'm gonna watch. Hey, I'm gonna watch Baywatch because The Rock's in it, but I'm definitely not gonna see it in theaters.
Oh, oh,
now,
the things you
talking
do.
about movies that we haven't seen yet, I think that's a good idea. There's some movies out there that I'm interested in seeing too. Before we talk about movies we actually have seen, I agree with you as far as Dunkirk. That just looks really awesome, and in every aspect. And I also agree with you with Dark Tower. I've heard so much about Dark Tower for the last 5 or 6 years, and now that it's actually in film, I saw the trailer and it actually looks interesting. So, like the actors that are in it, Matthew McConaughey, Idris Elba, just to name the primaries, I think that's going to be an interesting film. And I've got some quirky ones too. Well, there's a movie out there called Life. And the essence of the film is these scientists are going into space and they found what they feel is the beginnings or the essence of life, and they're going to try to capture that and embrace it to their dismay. And so that's another one I'm looking forward to seeing. One you guys didn't mention, or I should say Steve didn't mention, was Wonder Woman. I really want to see this movie.
I do want to see
Of all
Wonder
the
Woman
DC
too.
movies that are out there, Wonder Woman is the one I really want to see.
I've said it before and I say it again. This movie cannot be bad. For the sake of Warner Brothers and for the sake of continuing the DC movie franchise that they're trying to do, this movie has to be up to par. This movie has a high bar to reach.
Well, I've seen
Every
different
trailer
trailers of it. I've
I've
seen
seen,
like 3 different
yeah,
trailers, and they focus on different ends of the film. And I really liked it, and I really like Chris Pine's character in the trailers so far, and I think that's going to help propel it even more so. But yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to seeing, along with Dark Tower. But then there's a few movies out there that I want to see. One is called Megan Levy, and it's basically, and this is usually movies I usually don't watch that often like this, and it's basically the relationship between a Marine, a female Marine corporal, and a German Shepherd during, I guess it's Afghanistan, and how this woman bonds with this dog, and it's based off a true story. So I'm not a huge dog and master thing, but I do like biopics and true stories or based off a true story films. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And that's got Kate Mara in it, and she's a decent actress, I think. So, and then the other thing is a movie which is kind of quirky out there. It's called Baby Driver.
I was
And
going to mention that if you didn't.
And the trailers on this thing looks really good. And Kevin Spacey's in this movie. Jamie Foxx is in this movie. So there's a lot of, and there's other, you know, different other people in the movie. And this basically is a movie where this guy is a great driver and he's driving not so great people. Not so different than what was it with Jason Statham's film,
Transporter.
The Transporter. But I think the twist is a little different in here, and it's got my interest. So that's another one I think I'd like to see. So what about you, Karen? Are there any movies you want to see before we talk about movies that we may have seen?
Well, okay, don't laugh at me. After I threw shade towards Steve's way, I'm sure he's going to have quite the field day with this one. But I'm actually kind of interested in the Captain Underpants movie.
The what?
I'm not going to knock that. Everybody has a preference.
The what?
Really? Because I was really hoping you were just going to like have a field day. I'm waiting for the missiles to hit. Captain Underpants movie with the cartoon. It's out now. It was just released.
Cricket.
There've been trailers for it. Kevin Hart is playing one of the characters, and it's sort of a send up of superhero movie.
Oh, I know what the movie is. These two guys,
he just can't believe that came out of your mouth.
Guys think that they're making something, this great superhero, and sadly, they're not.
Right. It just looks really cute.
Okay.
Okay. And so was the cricket your way of throwing shade? Because cricket just means I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he beat me to it. And I wasn't even going to do it.
Cricket sometimes means, let's go on.
Oh, okay. Well, you asked me what I wanted to see. I'm interested. You did. Well, okay. So that's like a walk on the water. That would be a guilty pleasure, definitely.
Okay.
I'm interested in seeing, and thanks so much for your support. I'm interested in seeing Churchill.
Ooh.
Yeah, that biopic is coming out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that movie is starring Brian Cox, but it also has the great Miranda Richardson in it. And this fits right in with the Dunkirk movie, frankly. This tracks Winston Churchill right before D-Day, like 3 days before D-Day. 3 or 4 days before D-Day, 4 days. So, but Miranda Richardson is enough to get me to want to watch it. And I think Churchill's a fascinating character, and it'll probably be quite good. And you know, Steve was talking about this is the year of sequels and remakes, and I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, I definitely agree with that. But I also think it's probably like the year of biopics too. There's another movie coming out called Megan Levy.
I just said that.
Yeah, right. He did talk about that.
Oh yeah, you did. Right. So that's a true story. That's a bio. That's a biopic, and that sounds interesting to me too. And also Wonder Woman and I kind of want to see Everything. It's like a tiny little movie, love story, but it's like an interracial romance kind of thing. And it's like one of those movies. It's probably like Art House isn't going to get a lot of box office support, but so I'm kind of interested in that just because I want to give them support. Mm-hmm. And I definitely would like to see the Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. I
followed all of the see it or not.
Right. I think a lot of us followed that. The movies were done so well that we all are following that story to its climax and to its end. You know. So yeah, I think all of us are looking forward to that.
Right. So that's just, you know, and there probably some more. I can't think off the top of my head of. Oh, I know. There's another movie called Detroit. It's in post production now, and it focuses on a police raid in Detroit that led to one of the largest citizen uprisings in United States history. It happened in 1967. I want to see that. It's called Detroit, and it stars Catherine Bigelow's directing it, and I love her. She did The Hurt Locker. And it stars John Boyega, who is in the Star Wars, the one that came out in December of 2015.
Force Awakens.
Yes, The Force Awakens. He was in The Force Awakens, so he's in this. I mean, yes, he's British, but crap, we don't have any Black American actors, so we have to hire British people. And then Anthony Mackie.
Oh, good actor.
Right.
The Falcon he's the Falcon in the Marvel universe.
Right. He's one of the few remaining African American male actors that are left in the world. So.
Now there's two other movies. I'm sorry, I'm going to throw these out there while you're thinking about this. There's a movie with called Slice. It's about a young man who is finding it. He's a magician, but he's finding that he has more power than he thought, and it looks pretty interesting. And then the last one I'll mention is a movie called Kidnap, and this movie is basically with I don't know why I cannot think of her name right now. It's Halle Berry, actually, in this movie where her child is kidnapped and she's doing everything she can to get her child back, and it gets to be kind of ruckus. I've seen the trailer for it, and it actually looks pretty good. So those are my curiosities anyway, right now. And then I think the next movie I really want to see right now is Baby Driver and Dunkirk. I want to probably see those more immediately than some of the others that I aforementioned. So how about movies we've seen, guys? I mean, what have you seen out there? What have you liked so far in 2017?
Steve. Who would like to start?
Steve would.
Am I
Hey,
starting?
go for it, Steve.
Steve will start. Steve started his theater going this year with a bang. I waited for John Wick 2 to come out, and starting off with a bang is a serious understatement. This movie is good. It's full of action. It's full of drama. It's got great character building. All the acting is superb. Like, a lot of people out there don't think of Keanu Reeves when somebody mentions acting. He does an amazing job portraying the character that he's supposed to do. And yes, he's already had a movie to really build into it, but he placates very well to the rest of the cast in every encounter that he makes. Ian McShane is a bright spot through the movie, and a favorite actor of mine. Full of action, full of suspense. No animals were harmed in the making of this film, as opposed to the first movie.
Right.
Spoiler, if you haven't seen the first movie, you need to go see it now, Karen.
Okay.
I mean, it's really good. It's a really good movie. Both of them are good.
It's really good, and every character you meet, you're interested in from start to finish. The villain, the villains in this movie, you treat them like a villain through the whole movie. You cannot wait from probably the first 2 minutes that they are on screen for them to get comeuppance. And it doesn't exactly go the way you think it would.
Right. That's the cool
I will say
part.
that. And yeah, that was the very cool part. And it's very well done on all sides. It's a complete movie, in my opinion.
You know what? I'll second that,
So-
Steve. I'll second that. I enjoyed the original film and the quirkiness, as well as the legend that is John Wick. And then going into the second movie, you're no less aback by the fact that John Wick's legend lives on, and now he has to live off the legend in order to survive, and that's the cool part of this movie. And as you alluded to, no dogs were harmed in this film.
And one thing you talk about living off the legend. In the first movie, it's like, okay, it's John Wick. This is what John Wick can do.
Right.
In the second movie, you truly understand how big he is in the world that they live in, and what kind of true, I'm going to say, monster he can be.
Yeah, I mean, you understand,
That's a
right?
very good word.
Yeah, yeah, and the irony is, from the first movie, because we see a softer side of him briefly, that humanity is still a part of his DNA, but it's not the primary part of his DNA. And in the second film, you realize that is a smaller part than you thought from the first movie. So the second movie gives you a different look at John Wick, and I'm looking forward to what I think is going to be a third movie. But
they're writing it right now.
Yeah, so I think that's going to take us to another level of John Wick that we're not aware of, and that's where it's going to be pretty interesting, because now, because of the second film, now it's a different. He has to look at things differently than he was. It's so different from the first movie, and he has to look at things differently from the second movie now going forward. So I like this hopefully at least a trilogy, if not more, of John Wick. So John Wick Part 2, Episode 2. That's I agree with you, Steve. That was a good movie.
Karen?
Yeah, I just don't understand how you could spend this much time analyzing just a guy who spends his time getting revenge.
Well, see, that's why you have to see the first movie.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I suppose.
Karen, what have you seen in 2017?
That's suburban. Those are suburban crickets, I think.
Yeah, those were suburban crickets. Well, probably the best movie. I'll just start with what I think the best movie I've seen in 2017 is. I mean, I would say Moonlight, except that I still haven't finished seeing all of Moonlight yet, so I can't really.
So it's just Moon right now.
It's just Moon. It's just Moon. It's just Moo right now.
It's Moonlight.
Right. But I did recently see a movie which I think was really well done, and it's called A Universal Kingdom. No, I'm sorry, it's called A United Kingdom.
Oh, with
David
Oyelowo
and Rosamund Pike.
Oh.
And this movie is it's an amazing story, again, based on real life events about this king of basically a prince who was in training to become a king of what was at that time called Bechuanaland. It's now the nation of Botswana, but it was at one time a British protectorate, and it was known as Bechuanaland. And in I guess it must have been like in the late 40s into the 50s, the prince of this land as someone who enjoyed the rights of British citizenship, went to Britain to study, to go to university, and he was in law school there. And he met a clerk, a young woman who was a clerk, and of course she's white. He's from Bechuanaland and he's African, and they fall in love. And against everything that completely made sense in Europe in the late 40s into 50s, they decide to get married. And no one wants them to get married. The entire nation of London doesn't want her to marry him because they're like, what are you, nuts? You do realize what color he is, right? And his nation was not exactly thrilled either because they're like, you're bringing this woman back to be our queen? What are you, nuts? And at the same time that this was happening, South Africa, which borders what is now Botswana, was the policy of apartheid had just been instituted in that land. And there were serious concerns that that poison was going to seep into Botswana because Britain was one of the architects of apartheid. They didn't implement it. It was implemented by the Dutch and mainly by the Dutch, but they certainly endorsed it. They certainly, and certainly felt that they were going to benefit by it. So Botswana was very concerned that as a British protectorate, they were going to be subject to an apartheid-like policy. So while all this is happening, these two people fall in love, they get married, and somehow they maintain their marriage in these amazingly hostile circumstances. I think the portrayals of the people in this movie by David Oyelowo, I haven't seen him act badly yet. I mean, he's an amazing actor. And I mean, he's a Brit. Apparently they're the only people who can act. And so I mean, he's done American characters convincingly. He does this African character convincingly. He does British characters convincingly. I've just never seen him not be convincing. And Rosamund Pike is also someone, I don't think she's terribly well known to American audiences specifically, but she's definitely well known in Britain, and she's a fine actress. And this, you really need someone who can go toe to toe with David Oyelowo, because you've got the prince, about to become king, a very strong character. And they, at least in this movie, they were portrayed as a team. And so you really have to have somebody who is as good an actor to get that message across, especially during a time when women were not expected to be the architects of anything. They were just supposed to be having babies, and that was it. But this woman in real life, not only did their marriage work, they had several children, and their son is president of Botswana today.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's amazing.
It's quite an amazing story. So I would say that's the best film I've seen. But other films I've seen that I really liked, I saw Loving, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I thought that was very well done. And in fact, the Ruth Negga, who played Mildred Loving, was nominated for an Academy Award. She didn't win, but her performance was definitely recognized by the industry as a very, very nuanced, very well done performance. But she's British, so what do you expect? And and what else have I seen that I've seen that. There's another movie. I won't say this is my favorite movie, but it was an intriguing movie, The Man Who Knew Infinity.
Oh, about the mathematician?
Yes. Yeah, sad movie, and it's like, but Dev Patel, again, a really fine actor, another Brit. But he was also in Slumdog Millionaire as a much younger guy.
And also in Lion.
And also in
That was
Lion.
nominated for Academy Award.
And he was nominated as Best Actor for that movie. So again, you know, really, really well done. And here's a movie that I saw that was not released in 2017, but I just saw it recently. I don't know why, but I did. It's called Prisoners. Do you remember this movie?
Is that the one? Don't tell me. That's the
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I would say don't tell me, but you did.
Oh, I thought you were saying don't tell you about the movie, not
No, I meant don't tell me. I was gonna try to say. So it's Hugh Jackman. It's well, the essence of the movie is there's a group of friends that are gathering. Is this that movie where the kids are missing?
Right, that movie.
Okay, with what's his name in from Empire?
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard.
Gyllenhaal is the detective.
Jake Gyllenhaal, yes.
The detective. It's a rare. I've only seen half the movie, but I don't know why I haven't seen the whole thing because it's really good.
It's good, but crap. I mean, oh my God. I just want to just like go to absolution or become Catholic and go to confession or something after that movie because it's just so chilling. But you know what was the chilling part of that movie came from, to me, one performance, and that was Melissa Leo. Now, she's another amazing actress. She got her start in television. She was a regular cast member of Homicide: Life on the Street. Yeah. And I've always admired her, and I always have a soft spot in my heart because I actually auditioned for that television show because it was filmed out, you know, it was filmed here in Baltimore. So when I was acting, I was on that audition circuit just like a lot of actors were. But she's just an amazing actress. She was also in Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen, playing like some official in the United States government, Secretary of State, I think. So she does
an Oscar in the movie with Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. What was it called? It was about a guy who was a brother and was a boxer, and his other brother was, you know, the brother that didn't succeed very much in Christian Bale, but I can't think of the name of the movie, but she won an Oscar for that as a supporting actress.
Didn't I have no idea what movie this is. What movie is that?
I'll look it up while you continue.
Okay. Well, anyway, Prisoner, Melissa Leo's performance is just riveting in that movie. And it's funny because Hugh Jackman's character, to me, in this movie kind of detracted from the movie. Not his fault, because I think he's a fine actor, but because of, I think, a direction that was a little bit misguided. I think in Prisoners, Hugh Jackman's character was just way over the top.
Yeah, he was.
For a father. I mean, it's like, come on, guy, get a grip, you know? And it's like, and I guess I'm a little disturbed by the premise that unless you just like completely lose your mind, you don't love your kids, when that's not true. And in fact,
it was for Hugh Jackman.
If you actually don't lose your mind and you don't lose control and you don't just like get completely wackadoo, you know. And it's interesting because the Terrence Howard character, Terrence Howard and Viola Davis are also in this movie. Viola Davis wasn't given that much to do, but when she's in the movie, you know, she's very watchable. But she doesn't have that much to do. Terrence Howard also doesn't have that much to do, but a little bit more than Viola Davis. And they both come off as far more like grounded on planet Earth than Hugh Jackman does. And in fact, Hugh Jackman's wife comes off as far more grounded too. He's the only one who's like completely out of control.
Which made me, and I only saw the early part of the film, but it made me suspicious of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, it's like something else is going on is why you're you're just hounding Jake Gyllenhaal so much. The
Right.
guy's trying to do his job, and you all are just like making it harder for him.
You're totally in the way, but
In the
and like
way.
completely ruining custody and chains of evidence and completely just making it impossible to actually bring a case. And it's like, oh come on, this is like really not even realistic, because I mean, unfortunately, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of children that go missing every year, and parents don't do that because they have to trust the police. They have to trust, they have to reach out to the community. They need people's help. So alienating everyone is not in their interest, and even in their grief, they know that. And so it's like, come on. So to me, that was an issue of direction and storyline, which just didn't make sense and really detracted from what would have otherwise been a very compelling movie.
Yeah, it looks. I'm gonna finish it. It looks. It looked pretty good, and even what I saw was pretty good. I just got sidetracked away from it. So, what about you, Steve? Any other films out there that you're looking that you saw that you thought were really good?
Yes.
Okay. And what might those be? Weren't even bad movies?
Have I seen any bad movies?
Yeah.
No, he's not gonna mention them today, though.
I
He's gonna
can't
only
say
mention good
anything
movies.
by rights of who I am. I can't mention them on the air
That's a trick
unless we're
question.
having a thing that's like, hey, don't go see these movies.
It was a trick question. I was just trying to trip you up.
But you're trying to make it a trick question. I know your tricks. I see through you.
Translucent.
Whatevs.
The movie actually was made in 2015. It didn't reach America till December 2016, so it's kind of a 2017 movie-ish.
No, that's fine.
I've
Doesn't
talked
have
about
to be just what you saw.
Yeah, I talked about it on here before. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's called Solace. Anthony Hopkins, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Colin Farrell. They just do an amazing job bouncing off each other. With Anthony Hopkins and Colin Farrell, you don't really get to see their cat and mouse game till more toward the latter part of the movie, but you see such a setup for their cat and mouse game in the very beginning of the movie that it's really interesting. And Anthony Hopkins being a retired police officer with a special gift for solving cases, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan having to basically the third murder has happened. Third murder, second murder. I think it's the third murder has happened.
I think it's the third.
And Jeffrey feels like his back's against the wall because there's no evidence, there's nothing, there's no footprints, there's no DNA in all three crime scenes. All three crime scenes have zero relation to each other at the given point in time. And he decides he's going to call Anthony Hopkins to see if he can get him back in to do this one thing. And Hopkins is retired. He's such a stressful life, stressful because of his gift, stressful
his own demons,
family issues, and he really doesn't want back. But Jeffrey ends up talking him into it, and it just leads in a very interesting way after that. And it's kind of not to be expected. It kind of is to be expected in certain directions, but it's a very smart movie.
It's a very smart movie.
It's done very well, and it makes you think the entire time. And at the end of the movie, you still have questions. Yeah. And I know people with OCD that movies like Solace, No Country for Old Men, things like that, without an absolute ending, really drive them up the wall. But I enjoy the movies that make you think after the fact.
Yeah, this is a good film, Steve. I saw it too.
Oh, you've seen it already. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's pretty good. I didn't get to hear a lot of buzz about the film, but I agree with Steve. I actually liked it, and
There
the
wasn't much buzz about it.
yeah, but you know the beginning is a little slow,
Hmm.
but then it picks up, and then it stays in that mode for the rest of the
Well,
film.
the one thing I like about the beginning is even though it's slow, you can see it putting the pieces together for
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
Like the entire movie's like putting together a puzzle. And
Mhm.
it's very rare that we get movies like that today. You're putting together a puzzle, but you're putting together a 4-piece puzzle, or you're putting together a 10-piece puzzle. This one's literally layered with like 500 different pieces as you're going, and it's almost like you're starting with no corners.
Yeah,
And
that's a good
but
analogy.
again, it's very smart in its presentation.
Hmm.
So I got two movies I want to talk about. One um, came out this year, 2017, and it was a movie that people kept telling me about, kept saying that they saw it and enjoyed it. And part of my problem with watching it, not a huge horror film person. I'm more into kind of the werewolf vampire thing. Somehow that's more has been intriguing for a long time for me. But people kept saying you got to see this, so I went out and saw Get Out.
And what did you think?
On a scale from 1 to 10, it's probably a solid 7.5, maybe 7.8. Not quite an 8, but I wasn't looking forward to it being any higher than a 6.
I've heard
And I
this is
was
an
pleasantly
excellent movie.
surprised.
I've
I was
heard this is an
pleasantly
excellent movie.
surprised. Pardon me?
I said I've heard this is an excellent movie. I'm surprised that it barely makes it past 7.5 for you.
Well, part of the reason why is because I've seen movies like it, similar to it,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of things that happen that are, some of them are cliche, and then the other thing that happens is that we get it to be a little predictable, and so that's the thing that brings the rating down. However, what brings the rating up is the quirky things that happen and the things that you don't think are going to happen, and then there is a comic relief in this film. So one of the actors in the film I really like is an actor that is on a TV series called Atlanta,
Oh,
and
I love that
there's
show.
well there's the core of Atlanta are 3 guys.
Right.
The writer of
Donald Glover.
who's the writer, but and then there's the rapper, and then there's the rapper's friend who
Right.
lives with him. Now, the
Right.
guy who's the rapper's friend that lives with him, I just want to say this one moment. I thought this was so funny. They're cleaning out their guns, and the one guy he's named his gun, and the other guy is like, "Why did you name your gun?" He goes, "What do you mean?" And he's just talking about how cool the gun is and by its name and all this stuff. He's like, you didn't name your gun?" He said, "Yeah, I did name my gun." He said, "What'd you name your gun?" "Gun." It's
Right.
a gun. It doesn't need a name. It's a gun. Okay, well, the friend who's a quirky friend who seems like he knows everything, knows people who know other people, he's in this movie, Get Out, and he's one of the characters that is poignant in this film. And so I was glad to see him in the movie. He's actually in the beginning of the film, and then he reappears later on in the film. And so his character is very important to the essence of what this film is about. So I actually did like the movie. Again, I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere from, I was thinking between 5 and 6 as a rating out of 10 being best. it's not quite an 8, but it's right there on the cusp for me. So it was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So it is a movie that I think people should see it, especially if you kind of like horror films. It's more of a suspense film than it is a horror movie. And that's probably why I liked it a little bit more.
Right. And that's why I'm even entertaining the notion of going to see it, because I wasn't going, I don't do horror movies.
Right.
And and when I heard that it was a horror movie, it's like, oh, well, I'm out, peace out, whatever. And then I kept hearing people were like, no, it's not that scary. You've really got to go see it because it's really allegorical. It's sort of a send up of horror movies. But it's extremely creative, and it just blew out the box office. It broke box office records. And for that alone, I'm just interested in what this film is about.
And part of it's because what happens in the film can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's much more chilling than a mummy, like
Right.
unraveling as they walk across the floor.
Right.
This is more of a scenario that is believable that it could occur. And that's what makes it so hard to watch in some cases. And then there's the other things that are a little quirky that you're like, whatever. But the essence of the film, it does keep you watching it.
Okay.
Because you want to see what happens to the character, and you want to see what happens at the end. So, it's a decent movie.
Cool. You said you wanted to talk, was there another movie?
I have one other one. I mean, I actually got 2 other ones, but
God, it's like they're having rabbits, these movies.
They are. One movie I wanted, and I'm only gonna be brief with them. One movie I saw is Gifted. Now, we recently saw Hidden Figures, which was this movie about these women, these amazing women, whose mathematical skills just out of this world. Well, this is another film of a younger woman, of a child who is also mathematically gifted. And ironically, Octavia Spencer is in this film. And in this film, Octavia Spencer is more or less a woman who is what's a good way to say this? Well, for lack of a better way of saying it, I'll just say she's in love with this child, and it's not her child. And she wants everything to go right with this child. But the father is trying to get the child more acclimated into society. He was homeschooling her, and he wants to get her more acclimated into society. And Octavia Spencer's character is like, you shouldn't be doing this. Something's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. And that's what makes you really jump into this film. You're like, what's going on? I mean, what's the problem with acclimating a kid? Well, you find out through the course of the movie what went wrong and the reason why these things, he may have done the right thing in sociologically, but he did a wrong thing. And now things are going topsy-turvy. That's why this is a decent film. But the movie I wanted to really talk about more directly was a movie that did not come out this year, but I saw it this year. And I was looking for different movies to look at. And it was a documentary. And it's a documentary called Thunder Soul. And this is about a band that, a high school band that got so popular that they were starting winning all these jazz contests, and it got so popular that now they were backing major artists in on recordings, and they were traveling around the world. And here's some kids in Houston, Texas, who weren't from the really affluent side of town, and they're getting to go all these places that a lot of other people will never ever see.
Interesting.
And the thing about the film was how much they felt, the students, to their to their band director, because without him, a lot of these things would have never happened. but not just those external things. It's the internal things and who he was to them, for them throughout this film. And so 30 years later, the film is about 30 years later, these band members, male and female band members, come back to their old high school. And some of them haven't played instruments for 15, 20 years. And they put this back together because of the passion that they had for their choir director, who in the film is 90 years old or something like that.
Wow, this sounds really interesting.
So after the film was made and a lot of these relationships had rekindled, now Thunder Soul travels as Thunder Soul around the country playing.
Huh.
And I have actually some of the recordings I have, they're really good. So I think this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And the emotion that you get. And this movie was produced by Jamie Foxx.
Oh, wow.
And who is also from Texas, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is probably, of the movies that we've discussed, that I've mentioned, of course, it's probably one of the better ones. Now, it's not a 10, so don't go there, but it's a 9.
Oh, wow.
Well, might as well be a 10 in your world. When have you ever given a movie a 10?
Well, there was that. No, never.
Right. Exactly.
So, but yeah, this is a good one. I'm really I'm watching it again.
Well, I want to watch it now.
Yeah, it's called Thunder
That sounds
Soul.
really good.
Thunder
That
Soul.
does sound really good.
And if you like music, that's they do play music, so it's not like that's not part of it. But
Right.
it talks about so much about history, their history, and how it melds into history. And the choir director, or I'm sorry, I keep saying choir, the band director, and how he infused his will upon these students and got them to go into themselves and become better people. I mean, it's just a wonderful movie that's a documentary. And that's what's even better about it, because it's real people, real situation.
How did you hear about this documentary, Greg?
You know what I did? I went to look for films, just in general, just older films, and it didn't matter what subject matter. That's how I came upon Slice, for example. There's another one I wanted to see out there that's called Beach Rhythm and Life, and then the other one called Black Power Mixtape. So it's a lot of these movies out there that I decided to look at documentaries, and also new movies that were coming out, and I just happened upon it and as a documentary. So I was able to find it, I was able to watch it, and then I thought to myself, man, this is really good. I got to tell people about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. So what other offerings do you guys have?
Steve?
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it was really good.
I did too.
Okay, let's have a little chat about this for a second before you go on, Steve. Okay. So we've all seen Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
Okay.
So now we have the sequel, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And given that we've already done our show about the pitfalls, the rises and the falls of sequels, how does Guardians of the Galaxy 2 stack up as a sequel? And why?
I've had this conversation with people before. I've especially hugely had this conversation dealing with John Wick versus John Wick 2. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I feel, is just as good as the first one, but it makes improvements in the story. It makes improvements in dynamics. It makes improvements with character interactions. It's everything you want in a sequel. You want a different story, but you want if you keep characters around, you want a growing emotional connection to them.
And
You
so
want,
many movies miss that.
These people
so
are
many sequels
these
miss
people.
that.
Right.
Yeah, you want people to, especially people that are this close, that are on a ship all the time with each other, that go on these missions and do things. There's a family interaction that has to come with it. That's a natural process, which anybody who's been in the military, anybody who's been a part of fraternities, anybody who's been a part of businesses for long periods of time, you grow to interact that way. This movie does a really good job of growing their interactions with each other. It maintains its comedic form while still while getting a little bit more serious than the first movie. And it's I'm not going to say it's better than the first one, but it stands by itself as a good movie, just like the first one stands by itself as a good movie.
Yeah, I've seen it, the majority of the film. I haven't seen all of it, but I think that makes sense to me from what I've seen. And we have character growth, and we have understanding as to who and why things are. And I think that really helps this situation without being too, without spending too much time doing that. And I think that helps us.
And which one really good thing about this is we know. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
One thing about this movie is we know about Peter Quill. We know about Star-Lord. If you've seen the first movie, you've basically got a real grasp on who he is, his past, and there's not really much more to learn except little nuances. Every other character they pay so much more attention to into this one. They pay more attention to Rocket. They pay more attention to Groot, which is really weird because he only says 3 words and roars.
3 words can go a long way if you really
yeah,
understand
3 words
person.
can go a long way emotionally. They share more with Gamora. They share more with Drax. Drax is a huge piece of this movie, and you would think after seeing the first movie, you were just like, oh well, he's part of the team, but he's kind of going to be that side character that you get backstory, you get interactions, but it's not a dominating part of the film. He is a huge part of this film, and I think it really goes to Dave Bautista, the actor who was a former professional wrestler, who was a football player, who was a bodybuilder, and how far he's come as an actor, from doing B movies to slowly starting to get into more major roles. And he kind of fell into this one, but this is really going to move him and propel him into better acting jobs, because he's just done such a good job in this film.
Yeah, he does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So
now I'm
it's well
intrigued.
worth a look. If you like hero movies, go watch it.
Well, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I loved the first one, and I did not come to Guardians of the Galaxy with any sense of urgency or enthusiasm. I was just bored out of my mind and looking for something to do, and people kept talking about this movie. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll go see it. So I went to see it, and I was just enchanted. It was just, I mean, they had me at the first song from the 70s, but they kept me because of the storyline, and it was just so interesting, and it was funny, but it was also poignant, and it was great. It was also just a really good time. It's like you go to the movies a lot of times to have fun, and this was just a fun time. So
well, you won't be disappointed in the second movie either, because it's going to be just as fun, and it'll be different. It'll be a different fun.
Mm-hmm.
cool.
And as Steve alluded to, it gets a little bit more serious, but not overly. And
Right.
but it's the seriousness is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's good about this.
And
movie.
Kurt Russell is in this movie.
And Kurt Russell's in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, anything else, Steve?
Anything else?
You were talking about Kong to me earlier. Is that
yes.
something you wanted to discuss?
I am. It's Karen has her Captain Underpants guilty pleasure. I have my Godzilla.
I kind of want to say Kong too. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to see it, but it's, you know, yeah, I want to see it.
Go, Steve.
I thoroughly enjoyed what I've seen so far. I'm about halfway, a little over halfway through the movie. It's very interesting in the way they've done this. They still stay to the basis of you have military people going to an island to discover what's there. If you know anything about King Kong, that's not different. The one thing about this movie is they're not there to. The movie's not gonna end in a sideshow attraction in New York City. This is not, and it's a bit of a darker film compared to the other Kong films, compared to Peter Jackson's version. I like the originality of it. It's, even though it's a giant monkey. I mean, let's not sugarcoat this. It's very original in landscaping. It's very original in other creatures. Its story has a small bit of originalness to interactions between people. John Goodman's done a great job so far. John C. Reilly is doing an amazing job being an almost crazy comedic relief. And not crazy that, you know, he's kooky and kind of out of his mind. He's been there for roughly the difference in the end of World War II to Vietnam.
Almost 40 years.
Yeah, so he's what, 28 years? I think it was 28 years and some change. Yeah,
All right,
it was like
then.
28 years and some
years.
change, but that's a huge deal to someone who is completely, you know, annexed from the rest of the world.
Right.
And he does a phenomenal job of just trying to ask questions and being kind of funny in the way he does it.
Can I say something? It's almost 60 years.
How could it be 60 years? What are you talking about?
It wasn't Vietnam. It was World War II.
I said
World
between
War
World
II
War
to
II and
Vietnam is 20 years, or about 30 years. 1940, 1950.
Oh, so this is taking place during Vietnam? You're right.
It's
My
at
bad.
the end of Vietnam.
You're right. My bad.
Like literally, the U.S. is pulling out of Vietnam.
Right.
You're
So
right.
that was
Very
early
beginning of
70s.
this.
Right, because that's why the helicopter team went with them, because they're pulling out. Okay, got it.
So John C. Reilly is so freaking talented. He's just one of those.
Well, he went to such a good high school.
Why? Why did he go to Finger?
Oh, that is so. You get that, Karen. You put it in there, but no, he did not.
Oh, okay. He went to DuSable. That's right. He went to DuSable High School in Chicago.
Which
no.
is the same high school that guy went to.
Oh,
Mr. Greg Morgan.
He went to South Shore High School.
I didn't go to South Shore High School.
Or that one.
Wow. Okay, Morgan Park then.
Brother Rice High School. Brother Rice High School. In Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Because there's one in Michigan also.
And he went to that one.
No, he went to the one in Chicago. Chicago born and raised, baby. Okay.
In spite of that, he's really talented. And
I know, right?
In spite of that.
No, he's a song and dance man from like the old school type song and dance man. He was amazing in Chicago. He does these really stupid roles like those movies with Will Ferrell where he's playing like idiot boy.
Talladega Nights and Step Brothers.
Right, right. He can pull those off, and he can pull off really serious roles. He's just amazing. So,
well, guess what? He's in Guardians of the Galaxy
and Godzilla.
No, just Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island. Sorry.
He does a really good job, and there's this movie isn't about character development, really. It's about understanding what's happening to these characters, what's happening around these characters. You don't really want a huge it's you don't want a huge backstory to pull away from the subject matter, which is Kong in these movies, and it's doing a real good job of that so far. And I'm excited to see where it ends and how it's going to tie in, because in 2020 we're supposed to get Godzilla versus King Kong, and this guy right here, this one with the beard, is amped.
Even now, wow. And, okay.
I saw all of Kong and I enjoyed it.
I want to see it. I've only seen the beginning. I've only seen trailers in the beginning, and it's like, oh, okay. And then so I need to get back to it.
I really have to say that I'm very impressed with the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it was an intriguing beginning, wasn't it?
The beginning was hugely impressive. From the ending of, well, the beginning was very impressive, and the way they set it up, and then hearing about John C. Reilly talk about the beginning and kind of where he went from there in small little snippet pieces is also very interesting, and adds a little backstory that you don't really get to take part in the movie.
That's definitely on my list of movies that I must see. Kong Skull Island, absolutely. And I wish as soon as, if I hadn't been so tied up in my day job, I would have gone. I would have been there the first weekend it came out at the movies. There's a movie. I hate to bring our little conversation down, but I have to mention a movie. I have to mention a movie that I must warn all of you all. Okay, you can step off. Oh my God. There's another movie it fits into movies that I've seen this year, but this movie is just, in my mind, just such a freak of horror, such a freak of horrible horrors, that I can't watch this movie. I've tried twice. I can't do it. I can't even get through like 25 minutes of the movie without just having to run screaming from the room.
I could do it.
No. And I don't even want you to do it. It's like, I mean, there's a limit to the sacrifices we have to make, even as movie critics. The Legend of Tarzan.
Now, Steve said he liked it.
Oh my God, this movie's horrible. Oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? Oh my God. This movie is horrible.
Oh my God, I actually enjoyed the movie. How did you enjoy
this movie? It's a total travesty. It's oh my goodness. Oh,
I will now. Hang on.
It made my eyes cross. It was so bad.
Hang on. There are levels of acting in this movie that are atrocious. I'm not saying this is a movie that I'm going to suggest to anybody. I'm just saying that there are parts of the movie that I did enjoy. The setting style was, I feel, really good from their transition to mainland to Africa. I feel like that. I feel like Skarsgård did a good job with his character as could be done. I feel Margot Robbie was the worst choice they could have possibly had to play her role.
I have something to say on this. I noticed that there was a particular actor who's playing pretty much the same role in this film as he played in Kong. And who is that actor, Steve?
We're getting crickets from Steve.
I know we are. Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, and I'm like out of it.
It's Samuel L. Jackson. He's in both movies.
Well, that was okay. That brought to mind a question that I had, because as I valiantly tried to watch this movie and into second three, I'm like, I've got to get out of here. I said, what is Samuel L. Jackson doing in this disaster of a movie? How did they talk him into this? what are they? I mean, do they have like dibs on his children? Are they threatening his life?
I think.
I thought he was. I thought he
think-
was amusing as shit.
I think
Stop.
he thought he
I
was
thought
in
it was
Kong.
amusing.
I think he thought that was the Kong set.
Well, here's the
And-
thing. He's a completely different character.
But
no, he's not.
his
He hasn't played a
ideology
different
and
character.
scope is similar.
He hasn't played a different character in the last 10 movies he's been in. He plays the same character.
Nah, that's not true.
He's a little different in the Avenger movies.
Yeah,
he's
in the
not.
Avenger movies, he's a completely different character.
No, well, you haven't seen Kong yet, Harry. So how can you say no, he's not? You gotta see Kong first.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah.
Whatevs. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying it's ironic that he's in
Karen,
a gorilla. He's in a gorilla movie over here, and he's in a gorilla movie over there.
Karen, I'm not at any point in time going to argue with you because there are bits and pieces of this movie that should be thrown in a trash can and lit on fire. I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of did. We'll classify that under guilty pleasure.
Please do.
I liked it. I liked it for what it was because it was not Tarzan. It was it would seem like it was almost a sequel to Tarzan.
It seemed more like
And,
Frankenstein to me, except without the whimsy.
Nah, I can't argue. But yeah, I see everything you're talking about, and like I said, there's pieces of this movie
And
that
yet
need to
you
be
still,
burned.
like a moth to the flame, you were still drawn into
Yes.
the web that is called Tarzan.
But it did
And
take
then
me a while
you
to see
throw
this
shade
movie.
over Captain Underpants. Seriously? Really?
I didn't throw shade. Greg threw shade.
Well, somebody threw some shade.
Greg
Somebody
threw shade. I did not throw
Well,
shade at Captain Underpants.
Well, but you didn't exactly come to my defense either. You just let me twist in the wind. I'm just saying.
Like Captain Underpants.
Like Captain Underpants. There we go.
Yeah, I come to say no. I didn't know I could fly. Oh, now I know. Getting back to
So, Legend of
subject
Tarzan
matter.
was a train
Yeah,
wreck
I'm
as
just
per
train wreck. Oh my god. Oh my god. It was a track wreck. We didn't even get to the train part. We couldn't even find the train.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
track was wrecked.
Okay, I'm going to change a little bit here, and I'm going to suggest a TV show. Oh my God, it's not a movie.
No, I had that in mind too, but go ahead.
I have two TV shows. One is a mini series, and actually both are mini series. Take that back. They're both mini series, and I was quite surprised at both of them and how good they are. The first one is one that stars Billy Bob Thornton. It's called Goliath.
On Amazon, yes.
That is a wonderful show. It is so worth the watch. Now that's definitely an 8 to 9 for me. And then the other one is Shots Fired. Now Steve and I were talking earlier, and
I love Shots Fired.
He was just making a comment, and he said Shots Fired. I said, have you seen that series? He's like, what series? This TV series,
Love
Shots
that
Fired.
show.
Love that.
Nia Lathan she is tearing it up.
And literally, and I can't remember the actor who is the star, who's the litigator.
The state's attorney.
Yeah.
He's new to me. I don't know him at all, but he holds his own.
Here's the thing. He has a 6 degrees separation with us.
He does?
He does. First of all, he was in the movie Selma.
Oh, okay.
Second of all, he was in the movie Race about Jesse Owens. He plays Jesse Owens.
Oh, is he the guy who played Jesse? Oh my God! So he actually can act then.
Not just that, but I was trying to. Oh, you didn't like him in Shots Fired?
No, I didn't like Race. So it's like it's
Oh,
refreshing to know that he actually can act.
I know. I think Race is just it was this a terrible movie to me as well. But the six and this is where the 6 degree separation comes in, where Kevin Bacon is like around the corner looking around and looking like opening the door, looking around like, hey, our brother Glenn, who took a picture with him because he came to their studio where our brother works. And my brother is actually standing next to him in this picture.
Right. Yes.
That's awesome.
It is. Because our brother works for Comcast, and he was visiting the Comcast studios, and brother got to take a picture with him.
Yep.
That's so
that
cool.
Is all true, all true. But Shots Fired, awesome series.
Awesome.
I'll have to check it out.
Why? Because it's kind of like about urban, it tackles urban decay, it tackles urban decay and just, social.
Urban decay, so much urban decay.
It tackled urban decay twice. It tackled it 3 times, but it also tackles corruption.
Right.
It tackles
the relations between the police and the community and
fidelity.
And all those character great ethical dilemmas that we face in 21st century America. This series is a microcosm of that, and it's done so well. The acting, Sanaa Lathan, I've always loved her I've always been a fan of hers. I think she's an awesome actress.
She is.
I love her in this because usually she plays the love interest or the beautiful woman because she is extremely attractive, but she usually plays the love interest. So she's made up and she, stressed to the nines or whatever. But in this one, she's like hard boiled, she's gritty, she's
aggressive.
Aggressive. And it's like, it's an entirely different character. I can see why when they were conceiving of this show and somehow it got pitched to her, I don't know how that happened, because I mean, if I was the director or the showrunner for this series, Sanaa Lathan would not have been the first person that came to mind if I was looking for a lead. She would not have been the first person because she's too pretty and she's too, just not. I wouldn't think of her as somebody who could convincingly play a war-weary, basically, police detective who has a bunch of personal demons and is trying to do the right thing and runs up against these obstacles and finds a way around them and all this other, or doesn't find a way around them and all of these other things that happen. She would not be the first person I would think of, but she's great in this role. She is great.
She does a wonderful job. Totally convinced.
Yes. I'm convinced
she went from being a date on your arm to the person you want as your bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. You do not want to meet up again. You do not want to meet her in a dark alley. Not at all. She will tear you up.
From both of us, Steve, you should watch this. It's called Shots Fired, and it's a miniseries. And I think you both should see Goliath. It's a miniseries, and it's just as good as Shots Fired.
Well, the other thing,
I like Billy Bob Thornton as an actor.
Yeah, he's decent. He's a decent actor.
Mm-hmm. And a decent writer. And a decent
Low Sling Blade. Low Sling Blade. I can eat taters all day.
In Shots Fired, Joe Hennessy is also in this. In Shots Fired, she plays the mother of one of the victims, right? And I love Joe Hennessy. She was on Law and Order and Crossing Jordan. Yeah. I got a chance to meet her at the Maryland Film Festival.
What?
And talk to her too.
6 degrees of separation again.
Oh, I know. So it's really nice to see her acting again, because after Crossing Jordan, we just haven't been seen. She's Canadian. Maybe she went back to Canada. I don't know.
Well,
we haven't seen much of her since then.
Yeah, recent past, prior to the miniseries, she was probably on like 5 episodes of Madam Secretary.
That's right, she was. And it was
Playing
nice to
an
see her doing
NSA
that too.
agent.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I want to throw out, this is a movie that I think people should see. However, it's not in the movie theaters. It's on HBO. It's called The Wizard of Lies.
The Wizard of Lies.
Lies, yes, The Wizard of Lies. It's about Bernie Madoff.
Oh,
my God.
The scandal.
Robert De Niro's playing.
Plays Bernie Madoff.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer, who we have not seen in a month of Sundays, plays Ruth Madoff, his wife.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I want to see that.
You mean this is literally does it read like fiction, like the actual, entire story of Bernie Madoff and how that all went down? Because if you were to take everything that happened with the whole Bernie Madoff scandal and everything, and you put it in a book, somebody be like, man, that's a really good book, because it just doesn't have any real belief to it. And yet we literally
unfolded in front of our eyes.
Right before our eyes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And this movie is actually based on one book and other source material. And there was some dramatization of events, but the main things that happened, yes, tracked very closely. And here's what I'm going to watch it again just because it's fascinating to me. I mean, watching these sorts of morality plays, that's what I loosely call them. But because this is based on things that actually happened, Robert De Niro is the executive producer of the Wizard of Lies. So he's the one who got this project greenlit. He brought it to HBO, and why he went with HBO rather than a cinematic release, I don't know. But this is a get for HBO. And he plays Bernie Madoff, and he looks so much like the real Bernie Madoff.
He sure does.
It's bizarre.
Spooky.
It's spooky. It's like, how did they do that? It's like, and even if you look at like Robert De Niro's posture, he comes off like this sort of like, little nerdy guy like Bernie Madoff really was. I mean, he still is probably a genius. And he just
some smart people in prison.
Yeah, he just brings on this persona, and it's just, wow, that's really weird. And then Michelle Pfeiffer, her performance is, she doesn't have nearly as many lines as Robert De Niro does.
Of course.
But she haunts the movie. And I think it takes some real acting chops to do that. She haunts this movie. And I don't know who her dialogue coach was, but they deserve an Emmy. I'm sure Robert De Niro's going to be nominated for an Emmy. I'm sure Michelle Pfeiffer's going to be nominated for an Emmy for best limited treatment.
Yeah.
Wow. But she has this way of speaking like Ruth Madoff, and it's like, that's got to be the way that woman really sounds. And the way that she walks, again, it's just like this exterior. It doesn't really look like Michelle Pfeiffer, although she kind of looks like Michelle Pfeiffer is much prettier than Ruth Madoff was or is. But Michelle Pfeiffer looks bad. She really looks, oh my God, she looks like she's been ridden hard and put away wet. So it's just really, it's really just riveting to watch her. You know what I mean. It's whatever. It's really hard to watch her, but at the same time you can't take your eyes off of her, because it's like, oh my God, is she just going to crumble into little pieces or what? And then the sons, you have now the two men who played the sons. I don't know them at all. I mean, they've probably, I'm sure they have a great deal of television or movie work to their credit, but I don't know who they are. I don't recall ever having seen them before, but they do a really awesome job. And, you know, and it's just
Oh my God, this show's not
amazing.
PG anymore.
It's just, whatever. It's just amazing to watch. It's just amazing to just conceive of the incredible devastation this man has wreaked.
Mhm.
And one of the plot points in the movie is that he's talking to a woman about his perspective on all of this. Well, the woman that he's talking to is actually somebody who really who Bernie Madoff talked to in real life, a journalist. She plays herself in this movie, and she's interviewing Robert De Niro's Bernie Madoff and asking
Wow.
some of the questions that I'm sure she actually asked Bernie Madoff when she talked to him in prison. So that's weird. And I was like, wow, she played herself. That's amazing.
And not just that, but here's the thing: she's the perfect person to be the on the set as your advisor because she was there.
Right, and she's
Yeah.
a consultant to the movie too.
Yeah,
She's also
of
the
course.
consultant.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
there's that, and I mean, all this devastation. So you've got the viewpoint of the movie, and I think that this viewpoint is not in any way, set in stone. But the viewpoint of the movie is that the son, Ruth Madoff, and the sons didn't know anything about what Bernie Madoff was doing. Now, that has been the subject of debate and will continue to be the subject of debate, I think, for the next 150 years or however long Bernie Madoff stays in prison, because the sentence was for 150 years. So I don't.
Oh, he'll die. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
know he'll die in prison.
He'll die in prison.
We know these crazy prison sentences are just crazy. But anyway.
But the incredible devastation that he did, not one of the traits that he did was real. Not one. It was all smoke and mirrors. Not one.
That's
And-
why the entire story reads like fiction. It
I
cannot
know, it's just
exist,
like
and
how-
yet we watched it happen.
Well,
Right.
I have something to say to that in momentarily. But I guess we're getting a little long in the tooth, guys.
Oh, are we? Okay. Well,
That's true, too.
Let me just finish up with this. He kept trying. He kept saying that he wanted to protect his family and take care of everyone, but his oldest son hanged himself,
Oh,
and
my
his
goodness.
and I mean, this is fact. And then the second son
I didn't know.
developed cancer and passed away within a couple of years of Bernie Madoff going to prison.
Oh
Wow,
wow.
that's sad.
Yeah. So, and yeah. And that doesn't even begin to, exemplify the untold financial devastation that people literally lost their homes, they lost their life savings, they lost their children's education, they lost everything. They did because they believed this man, the Wizard of Lies. So anyway, that's all I'll say about that. But if I would just say to our audience, whoever's left, if you have HBO, watch The Wizard of Lies.
All right.
One other thing, and Steve was saying the essence of the film makes you think that it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a TV series on CNBC, and it's called American Greed.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so I don't want to say that. It is so unbelievable to watch all these things that happen across the country and that are very similar to this Bernie Madoff situation, and how many people have been doing these horrific things to people over time. And I can't help but think, wow, they made a TV series out of this. they're on like season 5 of American Greed.
Yeah, right.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
But you know, Bernie Madoff
Good
was
to
able
know.
to pull all this off right under the nose of the Securities Exchange Commission.
Yeah.
I mean, to say that they were asleep at the switch is being far too kind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It's like, talk about being derelict. Talk about shaking hands. I mean, talk about being the chickens, you know, and shaking hands with the fox. I mean, oh my God. It's like, why do we even bother with financial regulation if you're going to do it that badly? Just step off.
There's an American. Oh, I'm gonna jump. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with
Here we
us.
go.
We're gonna keep going forever. It seems like. We appreciate you listening to us, and we hope that our conversation will get you to watch some really good quality films, some of the films that we talked about today, and especially the ones that we seem more passionate about. So thanks again for listening to us here on A Real Point of View. Join us next time, and we'll talk about more movies and try to give you our impression of things that would be really worthwhile seeing. So
And
thanks
things
again,
to stay
Steve.
away from too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially between me and Karen, and not so much Steve. But
True story.
Thanks, Steve, for hanging out. Thanks, Karen, for hanging out. And thanks, ladies and gentlemen out there in our viewing public, for hanging out with us. And tell your friends and watch our mini episodes on our YouTube channel, which is under A Real Point of View, and also Blog Talk Radio for some archives under A Real Point of View. So thanks again, and you guys have a good night.
Night.
Bye.
Night.